Hello Kaleidoscope Labradoodle puppy families. This is your week 2 litter update video. And today's video is going to be a bit different from normal as we have orphaned puppies. So in today's video, we are going to discuss why these puppies do not have a mom, how we're managing without a mom, and what the implications are for that. We're also going to talk a little bit about each of the puppies, how they are gaining, what is going on in that respect, and how it impacts the future, if it's any different from if their mom was here. And we're also going to give you an update on Mama Labradoodle Orca. So this video is going to be a little longer than normal, have a slightly different format. You may want to get a box of tissues. There are some sad moments in it, but mostly there's lots to celebrate here. Hi, I'm Claire from Van Isle Labradoodles, and the puppies from the Kaleidoscope litter are now 2 weeks old. So one of the things we're going to discuss today and take a look at is, have the puppies reached that second milestone, which is opening their eyes. And we're going to just talk a lot about what has been going on with the puppies. Now, when you look and see them here today, they're all clustered over in a clump. And what you're seeing is absolute heaven in terms of orphaned puppies. This means these puppies are full, they're warm, and psychologically they're content. You can see how they are clustered around the pig rail here, and that's a natural instinct because they don't have mom to lie up against. They're looking for something else to really just support themselves with. And you can see purple collar girl here. I'm not sure if you can actually see her. We'll see her later, but she's way tucked in the back there. And then they sort of flop on each other. Oh, here comes purple collar girl. She must have known I was talking about her. They use each other now as support. You'll see how they're really touching. Now, this is normal. Puppies are always touching each other, but normally you see something more like what you have here with yellow and orange collar, where they're back to back or they're nearby, but they're not quite so clustered up as they are here. So these puppies here are seeking the comfort that they would normally be getting from Mama Orca. These puppies here are not feeling the need for that. So this is great. We really like to see that there's a mix, because if Orca was here, this is similar to what we would see. Some puppies would be right next to her, probably some would be nursing, and some would be off independent on their own. So what we've been doing to mimic having Mama Orca here is we have been having our fabulous community support us. So our assistant Taylor is away in Europe, and fortunately her parents love her job as much as she does. So her mom, Lori, has volunteered to come and help us as much as she can. And what that means a lot of the time is simply sitting in the box, just like I'm doing now, but with your legs stretched out and giving the puppies the opportunity to seek out the warmth that they can sense that's in your body. And then they'll just come and they'll snuggle right up next to you, just like we were Orca. Now you can see Blue has probably caught the idea that I'm here, but he's probably too sleepy to make the effort to come and find me. We'll see. And then we also have to send a huge shout out to our wonderful puppy mom, Sophie. Sophie's just 16, and fortunately her parents have a second home at the lake, at Lake Cowichan, which is near to us, and her dad is amazing and is happy to drive Sophie back and forth from the lake. It's about a 45-minute drive, so Sophie can come and spend some time and help us out. And Sophie has just been the best help to us, along with Lori. So Sophie is learning. She's really keen on all aspects of what's involved with being a professional breeder and learning more about it. So we're just thrilled to have her close by and here spending her weekends with us. So what happened to Mama Orca? Well, Mama Orca got her tail infected. Why did that happen? It's a bit of a mystery. There's two schools of thought. Our vet and other vets think it is definitely not because we had her tail wrapped, and we do that to keep her tail clean during whelping and to avoid the puppies being immersed in all of the gunk that goes along with whelping. Our vet is sure it's not from that because he feels that the wrap is so stretchy that it would be impossible to cut the blood supply off to the tail and cause an infection to occur. Breeders, on the other hand, anecdotally feel that that is what's happened. I've reached out on one of my forums and had many breeders respond saying they had a similar situation. Of course, there's confirmation bias on both of our parts. All of the breeders had a similar experience. The dog's tail was wrapped. They had a similar type of infection occur. They all had their dogs lose their tails. So we know that this is what happened to Orca, but she was on Clavamox, which is a very mild antibiotic rather, and safe for puppies and nursing mums. So that was great. Orca was on the right drugs, her tail was removed. We were all well on our way to recovering from the unfortunate incident with her tail. However, on day 5, after her tail had been removed, when it was time to take the bandage off, at the base of her tail, it was right at the very bottom underneath the end of her tail here, there was a breakthrough. And by that, what that means is the infection had broken through and it was oozing right along the baseline here. So that definitely was a problem. That meant that the antibiotic that we were using was not doing its job. It wasn't helping with the infection. It wasn't clearing it up. So we had to put Orca on a stronger antibiotic and also on a drug that has some pain relief and some anti-inflammatory properties. So we did that, but that meant she could no longer safely nurse her puppies. So this is another really interesting cultural thing. All the breeder friends that I have who are based in the United States, they let their moms nurse their puppies when they're on this drug. It's called Baytril, because they feel that there's no harm to puppies until they're in the stage where their cartilage is really starting to develop between months 2 and 4. But at this point, it isn't a risk to them. Whereas culturally in Canada, that is completely opposite. Vets here will uniformly tell you that absolutely not. It's not safe for pregnant, lactating, or even breeding dogs to have at any point. So it's an interesting difference in opinion that happens a lot with medical protocols between Canada and the US. And indeed, what we're doing to keep these puppies fed, which is tube feeding them, in England, that is completely frowned upon and considered to be not something you would ever do unless a puppy didn't have a suck reflex. They tell you to bottle feed your puppies, whereas here the thought is much more that tube feeding is safer. So it's always interesting how each culture has a different approach to things. I don't know which one is right or wrong. I know I'm Canadian. I'm going to go with what my vet says, and because I'm Canadian, I'm also a bit more risk adverse than my American friends, and I'm just going to play it safe and not have the puppies nursing. So as I mentioned, we're tube feeding the puppies, and as that sounds, it's simply a small tube attached to a large syringe. We make our own formula. We do not use commercial formula. In my experience, commercial formula tends to upset a puppy's microbiome, and the last thing we want is when their guts are developing is to have anything that interferes with them having a good, healthy gut flora. I also, in my experience, have found that the commercial formulas, the puppies don't gain much. They don't thrive. They survive, but they don't thrive. I want my puppies to thrive. This is why we use raw food for our dogs, because that's how they thrive rather than just survive. So we make our own formula, and it's made with a high fat, a 10% fat natural yogurt. evaporated milk, a little bit of corn syrup, and a raw egg, and some sterile water. Now, you can also use completely raw goat milk, and we had access to that, and we tried that, but the weight gains just weren't there. We also found that the puppies were having a little bit of a diarrhea, which we also don't want to see because that can lead to dehydration. So we switched them back to the evaporated milk. And then you can see Blue Collar here, how he's just making himself quite comfortable. I'll just fall all over my brother here, no problem. They're really fun to watch. So that's what their formula is. We are round the clock feeding them every 3 to 3.5 hours. So they are getting fed a total of 7 times a day. That means at night we can stretch it out so that we have a 3.5-hour break where we can try and catch some sleep. It takes about a half an hour, the whole process. You have to warm everything up. The puppies themselves have to be warm. We wrap them in a blanket because, of course, you can imagine if you were having a tube stuck down your throat, you would not be just sitting still. And indeed, we want the puppies to be squirming and making a noise because that's how we know we have the tube in the right place. So the tube goes down and we put it right down to this point here in the puppy's tummy. Because the risk when you tube feed, of course, is if you get the formula in their lungs, they'll drown, they'll aspirate, they'll get pneumonia. It's all bad news. So you have to be sure you get it right into their stomach. And the other thing you have to do is weigh them frequently, at least once a day, and make sure you're not feeding them too much because you can also blow their stomach right up. So you need to keep a hand on the stomach to make sure it's not getting too tight, too full. But we've already got a chart, we've got it all calculated. So we weigh them and we figure out precisely how many mils of formula they get. So it's a bit of a process. Right now it's very clean in here. There's no pee or poo, but I can tell you that these pee pads are changed probably every 2 to 3 hours. They poop a lot, they pee a lot. Now normally if we have Mama Dog here, then Mama Labradoodle is consuming all of that excrement. That's her job, and everything stays like this, and we don't even use these pee pads. We just use the pads that are underneath, and you can see that underneath we have these super absorbent pads, and these ones have a gel in them so that the liquid goes right through. There's no moisture that stays on top. The same with the pee pads, the moisture is absorbed so it's not cold and wet when they're lying on top of it. Now these puppies are smart. They have already started to learn not to pee here if this is where they're sleeping, but to take themselves over here. And these puppies are all walking. They are all on all fours. They do a little bit of a splay out. When they poop, they try to get in the right position, but their legs do go out from under them because they're not quite strong enough to support themselves yet. So you will see today when we pick the puppies up that all of them have a little bit of icky on them here and there. We do wipe them off. We do tidy them up. And of course, we make sure there's nothing around their faces ever. But they do get a little bit icky and sticky, and I do not want to put these puppies in water. I don't want shampoo on them. I don't want to be doing anything that we would normally not be doing. Now you see Black Collar Girl here, she's going on an investigative hunt thinking that this puppy might be her mom. This is Red Collar Girl. She's looking for something to nurse off of. That instinct is so strong, and for some puppies it is just a driving force. For Black Collar Girl at the moment it is a driving force. So we'll come in sometimes and we'll find soaking wet ears. So now what about Mama Orca and when she's finished her drugs? Will she come back or is she gone permanently? And why didn't she stay here and still be able to look after her puppies? There are surgical suits that mums can wear so that the puppies can't access the milk bar. However, milk production continues just from the scent and the sound of puppies nearby. If you've ever been a nursing mom, you'll know that your milk will come in on schedule or whenever you hear your baby cry. It's just a hormonal response. So Orca was extremely distraught at being kept away from her puppies. She was shaking and crying incessantly. It was just too much for her to bear. It was way too hard on her. We were also not being able to dry her milk up. And the reason why we want to start to dry her milk up is because if she can't nurse, we don't want her to be getting mastitis and producing milk. We want to start getting her completely dried up safely. So she needs to have cabbage put on her milk bar for 12 minutes every 3 hours, except for overnight. And that helps to reduce the milk flow. Now, of course, as luck would have it, Orca is our biggest milk producing mom, so it's quite a process to get her dried up. So we made the decision that she was just too miserable and unhappy to remain here. Now you see what I mean about having your leg out and how the puppies they're trying to nurse. They're trying to see if there's something they can do. They're in the natural position. This is just so instinctive that they want to do this, even though they're not getting any milk from me. They're also beginning to associate me and my scent with their stomachs being full. So that's why they're so gravitating so much towards me. Hi, baby. And then you hear little cries here, like from Blue Collar, because it's frustrating when you're doing what you think you should do and where the milk should be, and there's nothing happening and no mom there. So for Orca, we sent her home with her guardian, and she's grieving. She's grieving the loss of her puppies. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Dogs grieve. They grieve when one of their puppies dies. They grieve when one of their owners dies. They grieve when another dog in their family that they live with dies. And when they're taken from their puppies, in their brain, they've failed, that they haven't protected their puppies, and somehow their puppies have all been compromised. So Orca's going through a lot of that grief process. At home, she's not shaking. She's back to eating somewhat, and she spends most of her day just lying right on her guardian mama, Rondi's lap. That's where she's comfortable, and that's what we need, because we need her to recover from her infection. So once she's finished her course of Baytril, if the infection is resolved, if everything's scabbed up and we don't have any oozing and it's all cleared up and she doesn't need to be on drugs anymore, then I think what we will do is we will then bring her back. It's much better for the puppies if they have mom here teaching them things. We've got auntie mums who will do that, but our auntie mums, which are Ripple and Spirit, they don't want to be in here doing it 24/7. They're like, okay, I'll do it if you tell me to. And they are very good at it, but they are definitely not wanting to sit in the box instead of being out in the main part of the house or wherever it is that I am. So it's not quite the same process. So ideally, we'll be able to bring Orca back, but whether that will happen or not, we don't know. So this brings me all to this week's lesson for everyone, all of the families on this litter list, and that's that you really need to have a great vet. We enjoy a wonderful relationship with our vet. We just think the world of him. His whole team provides us with so much support. It's an incredible support system for us along with our community. So you, if you're getting one of these puppies, need to be sure you have a vet. It's very difficult to find a vet now. They are almost all not taking new patients, so start checking around now. If you had a dog before, please phone that veterinary clinic, provided you were happy with them, and tell them you're getting a puppy and that you'd like to reactivate your file. If you've been a client there before, chances are they will allow you to be a client again. The other thing you want to start doing is looking for a groomer, and for that I encourage all of you to post on the private Van Isle Doodle community page and say, hey, I'm whoever you are, I live wherever you live, who has a groomer recommendation for me? And then you can start checking out groomers as well. Groomers have very long waiting lists. You'll want to take your puppy in to have their eyes cleared up and a sani trim on their bum. about 3 to 4 weeks after you take them home. So you want to get on the ball with that and look at booking those appointments already. And then their first puppy clip about 2 weeks after they've had their final set of shots. So good thing to get those appointments booked now. And the other thing is a trainer. If you're on Vancouver Island, Taylor is likely going to be holding classes. You'll be able to talk to her about that at the family visit. And the other one we recommend highly is Communicanine, who are located in Brentwood Bay. Worth the drive, excellent place to go. Many of our puppies go there. If you are farther north up the island, get in touch on the community page and ask for recommendations there. Same for if you're on the lower mainland. If you are living somewhere where there aren't any other of our dogs, such as if you're back east, and we do have several of our dogs back east, so worth a post, but you might not find an answer. Time to start checking and going to various training classes, sitting in, see if it is something that you feel comfortable with. You'll get a video with more information on this later this week. So now let's go through the puppies and let's see if anybody has their eyes open and where we're at in terms of their birth weight. And as always, we're going to do them in birth order. And at the same time, I'm going to show you how we give the puppies probiotics, because part of them being on formula means they're not eating food from mom, so it's a little less natural. So I like to support them with a probiotic. So first is Mr. Yellow Collar Boy here, our pretty chocolate tri boy, and you can see his eyes are not open. He says, no thank you, I have no desire to see the world. My mom isn't part of it, so I'm not going to even look. And Mr. Yellow Collar is now 928 grams. He is doing beautifully with his weight gain. He is, at first, when we first went on the formula, he wasn't gaining well. I was a little concerned about him, but he has recovered, and I can tell you that he is averaging 8% per day, which is awesome. That's just wonderful. What we want to see is 6. Anything more than 6 is a bonus. So this is the probiotic. It comes in this little syringe. It's called Benebac Plus. So we just take a small amount. We just do a click, put it on my finger, and of course every time before the puppies are handled, hands are washed, and we just poof, pop it in on the roof of his mouth. And hopefully it doesn't taste too terrible. They don't make a face, so hopefully that's okay. Next we have Red Collar Girl. Red Collar Girl is our beautiful black ebony. It used to be shiny, still shiny, but you can see she's got some ick on her here. She looks just like Mama Orca, and there's her eyes. She's gonna share with you and give you a big yawn. Her eyes opened right on day 14, which is today. And you can see she has some icky on the top of her head. They do tend to get stuff on them, as I said. We wipe them off once a day, but I don't like to do that, as I was mentioning, too many times. So we'll just get her Benebac out here. She's a little bit bigger than Yellow, so she gets a little bit more. There is a guide to how much you give them, but I've been doing it for so long that I can eyeball it now. And if they get a little bit too much or a little bit too little, the world isn't going to end. It's not that critical. Then we have Black Collar Girl. This is our little, I was saying caramel, but guess what? She's apricot. Yep. Finally, her color came through enough, and her eyes are open. You can see when she opened her mouth there, black lips and a black nose that's just starting to fill in. So she's not a caramel. We have no caramels. We have 2 apricots, and she's the one who has the strongest desire to still nurse. So we try to help her out with that, and I have a little tool that I got that's from France. And it's a funny looking thing. It looks like a big pillar candle with nipples coming off of it. It's made out of medical grade silicone. And you can put the formula in it, and the nipples that come off, of course, simulate moms. And the puppies can nurse off of that. Usually the puppies are like, I don't really like it. We haven't found it to be terribly successful, but I'm going to give that a try later today, just to give them that mental satisfaction that they get from that strong instinct to nurse. Next we have Pink Collar Girl. That's this little lady here. Oh, and Black Collar was 7% gain and 978 grams. Red Collar, she is 1.05 kilograms, and her weight gain was also 7%. Sorry. And the Pink Collar is our little chocolate phantom girl. This girl's a little squirmy dermy. She was up 6%, and she's 995 grams. She's always a little bit of a wiggler, so that's likely why she's at the 6% instead of the 7%, because she's moving around a little bit more than the other puppies are. And what does that mean? Nothing at this point in time, just that she's a little bit more active. There you go, sweetheart. Then we have Orange Collar Boy. Red Collar's thinking that he's her mom, so we'll just move Red over here. Here's Orange Collar Boy. Orange Collar is our beautiful ebony tuxedo boy. You can see that big white flag at the end of his tail. Hi, handsome, how you doing? And Mr. Orange, are you going to show anybody your eyes? There we go. Going to show my eyes with a big yawn. Open them up wide for everybody. That's a good boy. There we are. Orange is up 7%, and he is 894 grams. And Orange, I can see, has a little bit of poop stuck on his bum. So Mr. Orange will get a little bit of a bum wash. That's the only time we actually put water on them, is if their bums get a little crusty like that, because that can impact their ability to go. So right after this video, he'll be going in, just his little bum will go under the tap, and we'll just do a little wipe with just warm water, no soap or anything. Then we have Mr. Blue Collar. And Mr. Blue Collar, he's a popular choice for a mother surrogate. He is the biggest puppy in the, oh no, he's not, sorry. Red Collar Girl is now the biggest. Blue is now second. He's 1.3 kilograms, and he is just up 3% today. So the last couple of days he's had a slower gain, but I think that's probably because he's higher up there, and he was the one that was really going great guns before. So I'm not surprised that he slowed down a little bit. I can tell he's feeling full. There's nothing there that's worrying me. There's definitely nothing in his behavior that's causing me any concern. And he doesn't have diarrhea or anything, so no worries on that part. And then last but not least is our little Purple Collar Girl, who thinks my leg looks like a possibility. After all, it's the same color as Mom. And she's our tiniest puppy. She's 880 grams, and she was up 7% today. And go turn your head around and show everybody your pretty eyes. Yeah, show everybody your pretty eyes. Come on. Oh, she said, I'm going to be so uncooperative. There we go. There we go. Good girl. Oh, and she's going to pee all over me. I do have to change my clothes a lot because I do get peed and pooed on quite a lot. So we're tired. There's about 3 times in a 24-hour period where we get to a 2-hour rest, and otherwise we're pretty much up doing something or other with the kids. But it won't be forever. They will start going onto solid food, at least milk, that they can start lapping with a bit of pablum, hopefully in a week today. And then when they're 4 weeks, we should be able to extend the time between feedings where we're having to feed them by the time they're 4 weeks old. So that's your update. I hope you enjoyed it. I will keep all of you families updated if there's any other changes, anything of an enormous amount of significance. But these puppies are doing well. They're doing just as well as you could hope for, whether Orca was here or not. And we are doing everything to make sure their lives remain just as they would if they had Orca with them. So thanks so much for watching. We hope you're subscribed to our channel. And if you have any questions or you'd like to make any comments, we welcome them. Thanks again.